Lifting pots off the wheel often looks like one of the easier steps in the process of making pottery, yet it can actually be one of the hurdles that really stumps beginners when first learning how to throw. In part, I think that's because there are so many different ways of doing it. I also think, to some degree, there are some practices that are taught that perhaps make the process a touch more difficult than it need be. So, in this week's video, I'll be demonstrating and discussing a whole myriad of different ways of getting the pot from wheel to wareboard without damaging or distorting the pots. If you watch my videos, you'll know for the most part I tend to lift the pots off the wheel with just my hands, like so. This is arguably the most straightforward and traditional approach, but there's a knack to it and it can be difficult to learn and it can't be applied to all shapes. The thing is, some pots are simply easier to lift off the wheel than others, such as mugs, for instance, or anything with a more enclosed opening, whereas pots like dinner plates pretty much have to be thrown on a bat. Otherwise, there's simply no easy way of lifting them away without drastically altering its shape. Ultimately, I think there are pros and cons for each method, but from an objective point of view, some techniques introduce more trouble than they're worth, and you tend to only really see them at an entry level as they pile on additional time into the making process. The way I think of it is like this. If it's a pot that I'm making many multiples of, say dozens or hundreds, I try to lift them off with just my hands, as it means the pots themselves take up less space on the wareboards, which means I can make more whilst using less space, as ultimately one of the greatest bottlenecks you'll find as a production potter is simply running out of room to store the pots you're producing. It also means you don't have to tidy up the bats as you work, which introduces just another efficiency into the process. The thing is, this technique doesn't necessarily work that well if you're using very smooth clay bodies, as the stickier clay will just hold onto your hands even if you scrape all the slip off, which means it can be difficult to get a good grip on the pot before lifting it off. The other thing to consider is that beginners will generally work for longer on each pot when throwing them. This means the vessel as a whole can be slightly overthrown, resulting in the walls being oversaturated with water and therefore being weaker and flimsier, in comparison to a mug like this, which was thrown in a minute or so, which means inherently it's simply a stronger object. This means, perhaps paradoxically, that whilst this process is the easiest and a useful skill to have, it's perhaps not quite the most beginner-friendly. To lift the pots away neatly, I make sure there's no slip on my hands or the pot. I scrape the slip off my hands on a bucket, like so. Then, when it actually comes to lifting it away, I'm never really exerting any pressure inwards. I'm not squeezing, as that would distort the cup. Instead, my hands are just resting on the surface, and due to how sticky the clay is, it simply clings to my hands as it's lifted up and over to the wareboard. If you have an open shape like this, you never want to touch the upper portions of the walls, as towards the bottom of the mug there's the base that extends across the bottom, connecting the walls and creating a lot of strength, which means that's where I focus my lifting. It's crucial that your hands are dry when you try this, as if they're covered in slip, when you grip the pot, your hands will just slide right off. And again, I focus my lift towards the lower half of the vessel, where there's this solid bridge of clay connecting the walls and strengthening the vessel. The same goes for a bowl shape like this. Of course, its shape will distort if you attempt to lift it from the walls themselves, but provided you lift from the right place, it's relatively easy to make sure the pot keeps its shape. I also find that using the correct type of wire makes a huge difference. A twisted metal wire like this creates an incision that's far less likely to just stick back together after the wire has passed through, whereas a really smooth wire like this creates such an even and level cut that even when sliced through, the bottom of the cup just sticks back down onto the pad of clay underneath it, whereas the cut the twisted metal wire makes is quite jagged and rough, and it means the clay is much less likely to stick back down to itself. But you can see if I press in at the bottom, the walls don't even bow in that much, as the base of the piece spans this gap and supports it, whereas if I press in further to the top, even just lightly, the walls have far less strength and they're much more easily distorted. Pots with more enclosed tops are easier to lift off, as there's more support clay around the opening, spanning that gap. It doesn't have to be a lot, in fact. Even a slightly collared-in neck like this adds a tremendous amount of strength to the overall shape, but I'm still always lifting mostly from the bottom of the piece. You might then think that pots with a wider opening, such as a very simple bowl, would then be more difficult to lift off the wheel, but the truth is, provided you're lifting from the right place, and the pot hasn't been overthrown and is therefore weak, it's then relatively straightforward. I purposefully threw this piece with only about 1 centimetre of clay in the bottom, but essentially this still means there's an expanse of clay that connects the walls, and therefore this is where I'll lift from. Now, this does of course mean you have to prepare the area you're going to lift from. This can be something that a beginner might forget to do, especially with a bowl like this. As it were, if I were to attempt to remove this pot without taking away this skirt of clay, all that sticky, slippy material would just stick to my fingers, making the process far more difficult and messy than it need be. Instead, I scrape away a sizable area towards the bottom to essentially create a region of clay where it'll be easier to lift the pot away from. You can see if I press in here towards the bottom, the shape of the pot doesn't distort at all. But if I lightly press on the walls above, it's really easy to deform the shape. This then indicates where I should be lifting the pot away from. Never from the walls themselves, but from the bottom. I'll press 4 digits into the clay here, one on each corner, like on the angles of a square. This way pressure is exerted evenly around the entire bottom. And the great thing is, with a bowl shape, is that there's normally enough clay in the width of the foot that you can actually press your fingers into this excess, creating small indents even, as ultimately a foot ring of some height is turned into the bottom that tends to be a touch more narrow than the amount of excess that's left anyway. So the areas where I press my fingers in are going to be trimmed away regardless. So it doesn't matter if you make a slight mess of the bottom, if it means that by pressing your fingers in, you're able to get a better grip of the bowl. If you do it right, the marks left should only be subtle, especially if you're working with clay that isn't too soft. It can then be taken off and set aside, and I keep my hands level as I transport it from wheel to wearboard, as I don't want the shape to tip to one side too much, as that too can distort the shape. Now, if you are overthrowing your pots, or you're making a particularly delicate or complex shape, or you're simply new to lifting pots off the wheel only using your hands, then a good technique to adding some stability to the pot as you lift it away is to simply drop a piece of paper carefully over the opening whilst it's still on the wheel. Newspaper works well for this too, but essentially I just drop it on and then I very lightly press down close to the rim, not on it directly as the wheel is spinning. It can then be wired off and I lift it away just like before. The paper keeps the rim held in a nice circular shape, and thereafter you can either leave it on for a couple of hours, waiting for the clay underneath to stiffen up before removing it, or you can carefully pry it off at this stage, and as you can see what's left is pretty much a perfect circle. This can be a really useful technique, especially for wider shapes, but it can leave some small imprints on the rim, which you may have to tidy up later on. Now, the next two techniques I want to discuss are methods that are commonly employed by beginners to get pots off the wheel without damaging them. And whilst they do of course work, I think both have pretty significant downsides, and they aren't generally techniques you see used at a higher level, as they either complicate the process, create additional mess, or add a significant amount of time to the crafting process. The first technique is where you splash a pool of water on one side of the pot and then slice the piece off, dragging it into this water so you can glide it off the wheel so that you can sort of hold it from underneath in order to be able to lift it away. If you're working with soft, sticky clays that can be difficult to lift off with the method I've shown you previously, then this does work. But I also see it practiced with pots where simply not enough slip has been scraped off the surface in order to get a better grip on them so that you could lift them off. By doing this, I've added a lot of water onto the underside of the pot and onto the pad of clay left over on the wheel. This means that in between throwing pieces, I now have to tidy up the wheel head, as I can't attach a new lump of clay onto what's left on the metal, as it would simply hydroplane off. There's also now more water underneath the pot, potentially sticking it onto the wearboard. This creates another issue. And, depending on the type of wheel you're using, you may have to remove part of your wheel tray in order to get your hands into the right position to lift it away. As you can see, there is enough space to do this with this Roder HMT 500, but with many other wheels there's simply not a large enough gap here in order to place your hand comfortably underneath the piece in order to get a good grip on it. This means that if you're using this technique, with every piece you throw you may have to potentially disassemble the wheel, and you also have to tidy up the wheel head in order for the new lump of clay to stick down without just simply sliding off. In short, it adds a tremendous amount of time to the making process. As you're also working in such a wet, slippery environment, it's easy to drop the pot or damage it further. And thus, whilst I think it can be a useful technique to save pots you're struggling to lift off as a beginner, there's a reason you never really see this technique used beyond a certain point. It complicates the process more than it should, and I think if you're relying on this as a means of getting pots off the wheel, you should either invest more time into learning how to pick pots off just by themselves, or invest in a proper bat system, as this will simplify that step tremendously. Now, the second technique is slightly different, and again it's something I do on occasion, and that's using a heat gun to dry the pot before lifting it away. Again, this is useful in certain situations, but if you're say making 30 mugs and you have to dry each one like this before lifting it away from the wheel, I think you're better off again investing in a bat system, as otherwise with each piece made you're spending 30 seconds to a minute blasting the exterior surface in order to be able to lift the piece off the wheel without damaging it. With that being said, I will use it when taking bigger pots off the wheel, like so. This is a one-off piece, and thus adding that time to the creation of the pot doesn't mean too much. But if I was making, say, 30 of these, I would definitely be throwing them on bats. I'm not trying to dissuade you from using this technique and the method where you slide the pot off using water. But if you are a potter looking to improve your efficiency when you're making many multiples of the same piece, time is eventually something that becomes very precious, and thus eliminating steps like this that perhaps complicate the process more than it should is a good thing to eventually do. At the same time, by not learning how to use different techniques, you are to some degree stifling your overall skill set, and it can be so helpful to learn how to make without these stabilisers. The next technique I want to discuss is one that's really commonly used, and it can be fantastic for preserving the shape of the pots you make. This is of course using bats to throw on. Essentially, you attach a small platform onto the wheelhead, and then you throw the pots on top of these, which then means after the fact you simply lift this platform away with the pot still on top of it, like so. I tend to use bats when I'm throwing slightly more complex shapes. I don't want to potentially squash by lifting them off with just my hands. They're equally fantastic tools, and they often become completely necessary when making things such as dinner plates, as with such wide expanses of clay, there's simply no way you'll be able to lift the pots off the wheel without them distorting. The only downside with using bats is that they can end up taking up quite a bit of space in the workshop if you don't have them cut to very precise sizes to match the shapes of the pots you're producing. For instance, if I was throwing medium bowls on these, I could fit approximately 7 to a board, whereas without them I can fit roughly 10. I know this is a small thing to nitpick, but if you've worked as a production potter, you'll know just how valuable space becomes, especially in smaller workshops where you have to make the most out of your environment in order to work efficiently. By the way, and this isn't an ad, but I was recently sent this tile bat system by Hartley & Noble, which I'm very grateful for and I need to remember to use more. I'll leave a link to their website in the description below, but essentially it simplifies the process of attaching a bat to the wheelhead. But I'll be showing you both techniques, how a bat system like this works, and how to use more conventional, circular bats like you may have seen me use previously in my videos. Essentially, this tile bat system comes with a chamois leather, which I've soaked and squeezed all the water out of. This is placed onto the wheel, and then the bat system slots over this and the metal wheelhead itself, which means it's held really securely in place. The individual tiles are then slotted into this, and then it can be thrown on. Just make sure you dampen a patch where you'll be attaching the clay. Don't soak it by any means, as otherwise the clay will just slide off. But if you don't slightly wet the MDF beforehand, the chances are, depending on how you've stored the tiles, they'll be covered in very fine clay dust, which will keep the piece of clay from adhering properly. The piece is then thrown like normal, and once it's finished I simply pry this tile out, which means I never have to touch the pot itself when removing it from the wheel. I'll also let the bowl stiffen up for a while before separating it with a wire, as simply the motion of dragging a wire underneath a freshly thrown pot can be enough to distort it. As you can see, the bat takes up much more space, but I could have thrown it on a smaller one, I suppose. When working on these, I typically wait until the end of the day before wiring them off and separating them. This just gives the bowl some time to stiffen up and strengthen, thus helping to preserve its shape even better. If you don't have one of these bat systems and instead just have access to some round, flat pieces of wood, then you can attach those onto the wheel by following this method. You begin by centering and flattening a disc of clay like this. Its width varies of course dependent on the size of bat that you'll be attaching onto it. Once flattened, I give it a really good blast with a heat gun until it's more or less leather hard. at which point I score a series of grooves into the clay as I find the bats stick much better onto this as compared to a perfectly flat surface like it was previously, and it's really important to make sure that the middle isn't the highest point, otherwise the bats will never attach onto this properly. In order to attach the bats, I sprinkle some water onto the leather hard section, and then I smear more water onto the back of the bat, again to dampen it. I don't want to completely soak it. I then place it onto the leather hard clay, tap center it, and then perhaps the most effective way I've found of sticking them down is to sort of grasp the bat and then rock it back and forth so that the clay, the water and the MDF can really mesh together. I then dampen a portion on the top, and then from this point I can continue to throw the pot as per normal. There is a bit of a knack to this, and comparatively, as compared to the tile system, there's a much greater chance with this technique that the bat will come loose and slide off to one side. Equally, the time it takes to set up this system is much longer than the tile system, but I suppose in some way this one could be more versatile, as you aren't quite so limited by the tile sizes themselves. In fact, with this technique, you can attach bats that are much wider than the wheel head, which allows you to throw very large, wide flatware. And again, with bolts like this thrown on bats, I tend to just wire them off later. Bats are incredibly useful for shapes that you wouldn't be able to lift off otherwise without potentially deforming the shape. For instance, with these V60 coffee drippers, it's imperative that their shape isn't distorted, as could happen if you try to lift the piece of clay away without the use of a bat. I also think they're useful for a myriad of other shapes, especially if you're throwing slightly more complex forms. The final technique I want to discuss is throwing pots off the hump, as essentially, when you're practicing this technique, it really helps if you purposefully leave a thick wad of clay on the bottoms of your pots, as it's with this you lift the pot away from, not the actual pot itself. I tend to throw whichever shape I'm making, as per usual. And then, towards the end, I'm going to purposefully shape a segment of clay beneath the pot into something that should make it easier to lift it away from the wheel from. Then, at the leather hard stage, all of this excess is turned away. The amount you leave underneath is up to you, but by leaving a rather significant section, you actually create a very sturdy shape that helps all the clay work above it hold its shape as it's removed. In fact, in some of the videos I've watched online of very proficient Korean throwers making off the hump, the sheer amount of clay they leave on the bottoms of their pots is quite staggering, but I suppose if it makes lifting the pieces away easier and more consistent, then that's no bad thing, especially considering it can be trimmed away in a matter of seconds. I tend to use this technique most when I'm throwing lids and spouts, but you can apply similar rules when throwing pots directly on the wheel head, like so, if you are struggling to lift them off. Ultimately, I think using a combination of your hands, bats, and an occasional blast using a heat gun are the most effective methods, whereas sliding the pot off using a skim of water can create complications and mess, and it can really disrupt a more efficient workflow, hence why it seems to be a technique that disappears when observing a more professional range of ceramicists. Anyhow, there are a couple of other techniques too. There are all manner of bat systems, and even this sort of platform scissor contraption, which is used like pincers to grab the pot and lift it away. What I've covered here are just the most common techniques, and if there's anything I've completely missed, I'd love to hear your thoughts too. I hope you found this video helpful, and a tremendous thank you if you have happened to watch all the way through to the end. It means an awful lot, and of course, I'll see you next week.